And welcome to Carolina Warrior TV, everyone. I'm Chaz Bryant. Coming up, we've got some great fight action we're going to show you. A lot of great promotions happen around the Carolinas. The first one we're going to take a look at is Elite Championship Cage Fighting 16, which took place not too far from here at the Blake Hotel. Some of the Warriors were able to throw down, and this is what happened. It all began with the big boys, Ryan, the American Nightmare Houston, versus Scott Barr. The fight featured just about everything. Hard hits, painful leg kicks, and some ground and pound. But this fight would go to the judges, who ruled in favor of Ryan Houston, who gets his second victory. On to the next fight, with the three-round trend continue between Kenneth the Pit Crowder and Bruce Guttner. Crowder welcoming Guttner to his first fight ever inside the cage. However, Guttner quickly comes out with some knees. However, it's Crowder who's able to take him down. Crowder gets Guttner in a rear naked choke, finishing the fight in the first round. Go back to one of those long three-round fights between John Morales and newcomer Ralph Greenmeyer.
This fight is mainly a stand-up affair between the two warriors out there,
trading kicks and punches, jabs coming into play. And just in the waning moments of the third round, the ground game comes into play. However, when it's all said and done, it's Ralph Greenmeyer who will take home the victory by split decision. Fight between the welterweights, Tony Rogers and Caleb Savage. These two men were taking all three rounds. Savage pressuring throughout the fight. However, it's Tony Rogers who wins the fight, again, by split decision. The next fight between Salah Hemidoc and Kevin Hewlin, two men who've been away from the Elite Championship Cage Fighting cage. Hewlin quickly gets the takedown and lands some good punches on the ground. While Hewlin is trying to toil away on the ground, Hemidoc, smart competitor that he is, sets up a triangle choke. Hewlin taps out, and Hemidoc wins in the first round by triangle choke. The lightweight championship between Kevin Ferrant and Ryan Ford. Ferrant landing a big punch early in the first round. Ferrant, such a skilled opponent, while he's being worked over to the side of the cage, he's able to spin forward. Ferrant gets a takedown of Ford and quickly gets the mount. And this is where he's so skilled on the ground. The bombs begin for Ferrant. Ford is just not able to defend those. The referee steps in, stops the fight. Kevin Ferrant wins his first title by TKO in the first round. The final fight of the evening, the featherweight title between J.J. Bradley and Carlos Vivas. Vivas was so aggressive in the early parts of the first round, but J.J. Bradley with a series of great combinations on Vivas. Vivas was trying to get a flying knee on the chin. Brett covered quickly. It's Vivas early in the second round tries to get in the Kimura. Again, how smart J.J. Bradley. He escapes and then takes the back of Vivas. The rear naked choke locks in. J.J. Bradley wins by submission and keeps his championship belt. One warrior who really stepped up in the month of May was Kevin Ferrant. As you just saw, he took home one title with Elite Championship Cage Fighting. Then a week later, traveled down to Myrtle Beach and picked up another title down there. We were able to talk to the master of cool while he was training with Paul Boo down in Matthews.
much more pressure, no added motivation. To me, it's just, I treated it just as any other fight. You know, I wanted to fight the best guys willing to fight me, you know, and the guys who's going to offer me different types of challenges before I turn, you know, into a professional part of my career. But Brian Ford, he was 3-0, so he had 3 fights. Wes Evans was 4-1, so, you know, 3 fights compared to 5 fights. Both of them started fighting not long after I started fighting. I just happened to be fighting a lot more often than those guys. You know, they've 3 times in almost a year and a half, and I fought 10 times in 2 years. So, you know, they've had similar amount of time as experience, but not as quite as many as actual fight experience. But the training for both of them was pretty much the same. You know, I train all aspects. You know, stand up, you know, kickboxing, karate, boxing. I train, you know, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, sambo, judo. I try to touch every part of martial arts I can find.
He may be the master of cool. When those cage doors close, he becomes a beast in the cage.
I put a lot of pressure. I'm a pressure fighter. I put pressure on people, and I don't know if it's just, I think it's just the way I am in that situation. You know, obviously a lot of people say, you know, Kevin's real laid back, he's real cool, you know, and then when I get in the cage, I guess it's just a different person in there. Well, if I got an opportunity to stop the fight, I'm going to take it. I'm not going to, you know, let it go to the judges if I can prevent it. I have, out of my 9 wins, 8 of them were stopped before by the referee.
Though the sun sets on his amateur career, the stones have been set to become a great pro.
I got one more amateur fight that I've planned out. I plan on fighting Jason Lineberger August 6th at the Epicenter for the Fight Labs 155-pound title. And then right after that, September 10th at the Grady Cole Center, I'm fighting. I plan on making my professional debut for Imperial Fightings. I talked to you back in January. I said I want to get 6 wins and see where I'm at that point. You know, 6 in a row. That's what I'm still the same goal. 6 in a row, give me my 10th win. I've already decided to go pro after this one, win or lose.
All right, we thank Kevin for his time and wish him well as he turns pro. Just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take in some fights by the lake. Talk to pro fighter Joe Carroll and the big things that are happening in Gastonia in Team Renegade. Welcome back, everyone. For the 2nd consecutive year, the Rock MMA and Fitness Center held their spring-summer series of fights around the Lake Norman area. And boy, to start off 2011, they put on a really thrilling show. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. The night started with Nathan Gullidge versus Ivan Grajva. A back-and-forth battle through 2 rounds. But Nathan is shaken at the end of the 2nd and could not continue. Ivan gets the victory. Shane Crenshaw battled John Telfer. Tough fight all 3 rounds, with Crenshaw getting the victory through judges' decision. Cody Wells had no problem with Brad Scott. A rear naked choke ended the fight 59 seconds into the 1st round. The bantamweight title, Antonio Woodward versus Matthew Coakley, ended with a KO by Coakley, a minute 40 into the 1st round. The Vanilla Gorilla, Nick Smith, won the middleweight title over John Allen by referee stoppage in the 2nd round. Team Renegade down in Gastonia has quickly become a top rising school. They're producing a lot of high-class talent. They're lethal, they're potent, but they're winning. I stopped by there and I talked to Joe Carroll, who's one of the top flight pros in the Carolinas. I sort of picked his brain about the school and about his career.
A lot of people don't understand. They think that most fighters that come to me, most amateurs come to me and they're like, man, I want to make money, I want to make money. And the first thing I tell them is, it's an expensive sport. You have to pay in order to play. A lot of MMA fighters are broke. We live paycheck to paycheck. We fight for our dues. If you ever, as an amateur or as a pro, have to fight to live, go get a real job. It's that simple. Live your life. If you have the time to do this, then do it, because it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of your free time to get through some of this stuff. 40, 50, 70 hours in a week in the gym for 15 minutes of work or 9 minutes of work as an amateur. I mean, get it in and be prepared mentally and physically. As I'm getting physically and mentally right, I'm working on this thing they call compartmentalization. 60-40, putting time into the gym but not overtraining. I'm trying to focus more on some of my personal life and setting up and still fighting. As you know, I'm a full-time student at Johnson & Wales. I'm on my summer break right now, so I'm looking to get into working with the catering business, maybe some of that, and I also work at Whiskey River. So, I'm just trying to live, plus I want to make sure I get prepared for a fight. I'm not going to turn around and take fights on short notice like I have in the past. I mean, I've been known as the guy who always step up and fight. I got a big heart. I'm just like Mickey Ward, as you would say. Some people love to fight, and I'm Irish. I like to get hit in the face. I'll give you a smile, and I'll cook you some food and knock you on the ass. We're growing and expanding. We got fighters from all over. I mean, I'm originally from SMA and Joe Hurst, Gracie Baja. I'm a purple belt under my brother Roger Carroll and Joe Hurst. Originally, a lot of us have originated from ground fighters, and coming here, we have the experience of Zach Klaus being a phenomenal wrestler. We have the experience of Shane Crenshaw being a phenomenal wrestler. Ricky Rainey being a phenomenal everything when it comes to having knockout of the year or the phenomenal head kicks he has. Blaine Thomas being well-versed and one of those guys who will stand in and fight and bang. I mean, go back and watch Fight Lab, the 2 Fight Lab shows where Blaine Thomas and Travis Terrell put it all on the line. You want to see some action, you want to see someone have heart. Blaine Thomas, Travis Terrell, that first fight, man, that was more blood than I've seen ever. Renegade is, I guess you would say, it's almost a phoenix coming up from the ashes. We're rebuilding. We are stepping into a new facility in Charlotte. We're taking over down there at South End. Not as much taking over, we're kind of branching off into them. More space, more people to reach out and help us, and in a higher location. This is a good place. There's blood, sweat, and tears in here. Someone's going to get knocked out in here. If you take all this and put it in a controlled environment, oh, it's even better. Controlled chaos. You build brothership, friendship, family members in the gym. You have to have someone there. Now, growing up and having my brother always there to whip my butt in shape and keep me on the straight and narrow has always helped me. I kind of fell off a little bit because, big brother yells at little brother takes it to heart, little brother walks away, comes back, says, I'm better than you. And then little brother comes back with his tail between his legs and says, I'm not better than you. Things got to get fixed. When you work with your brother and you work with family members, they're always looking out for your best interests. And a lot of people in Charlotte have looked out for my best interests, like Kenny Letts and Cornbread. A lot of people have really helped me out. The whole Fight Lab crew, No Quarter. And without SMA, without my brother, none of that would have ever happened. And without working and getting together, and instead of fighting each other, we're working together. And I think people will see that the more we work together, the easier it will be to get North Carolina on the map as a big standpoint versus a little small standpoint.
And we thank Joe for talking with us. Down there, Team Renegade is putting together a top flight group of guys. They got Nick Smith, Cody Wells, who's coming up. You've got Shane Crenshaw, who's putting together a couple of good fights. And you got Blaine Thomas down there. So look for them on the rise around the Carolinas. Coming up next, Fight Lab champ Mike Powell teaches us a few moves in the rainbow. Bradley Essick tells us what's happening around the triad. Stay tuned. Here's your fight calendar for the month of June. So you wanted to get in the cage? My pal Mike Powell teaches you a few moves.
All right, I'm Michael Powell. I'm here at Concord Family Martial Arts, a Joe Hurst collaboration of a bunch of guys from the area, Joshua, Jesse, Advil, Atkins. And we're going to go over a couple moves. First of which is going to be a Jesse Atkins mind share. First to it as a stepping triangle, and personally, I've got to tell you, I enjoy this.
Alright, so what we're going to do is, I don't really know the name for it, so I'm just going to call it stepping triangle. Normally I do this move out of gi, but same basic principle for no gi. What's going to happen is we're both squared up. At some point, Mike's going to reach at me with his hands. I'm going to secure this hand, this arm, and now there's a pivot right here in his hip. Place it where I can actually put my foot on and step into it. So in theory, what I'm going to do, lift his arm up, step in the hip, launch myself up, the right leg's going to go over the top, and I'm going to lock the triangle, fall back, and execute the triangle. So if you see the move, it would look something like this. I'm waiting for him to reach. He reaches, I secure his arm at the wrist. Very tight grip. Like I said, normally this would be in gi, so I'd grab the gi cuff and I'd have a more secure hold. But we're going to do this really fast, so it won't matter. So once I secure his arm, I have his hip right here. I'm going to use his hip as a stool. I'm going to step right into it. As I step into it, I'm going to project my body up. My right leg will come over the top of his neck, and I'll secure my triangle choke from there. So the move would look something like this. And that's how you do the stepping triangle.
Thanks, Mike and Jesse. Not too long ago, I was able to get up with my buddy, Bradley the Rainbow Essick, based out of Lexington, North Carolina. And I had asked him how the triad is doing in the sport of MMA. All right, folks, I'm sitting with Bradley the Rainbow Essick up in his beautiful home up in Lexington, I think. He's our man in the triad. All right, Bradley, let's go ahead and start out. What's happening in the triad and growth of the sport? There are a lot of good guys coming out of that place, a lot of good promotions. Just give us a general idea of what's happening up there.
It's exploding here like it is anywhere in North Carolina. There's gyms opening up left and right. There's plenty of places for someone to go find and train. And then, like you said, the talent out of here is just is just growing exponentially. We've got people like Seal Bynum, I believe 4-2 now as a pro, finished out I think 5-2 as an amateur. He just fought Cameron Dollar in the last Scrap Live event, stepping up the competition, people from Triad Art. We have people like Nick Blake, who's a hard charger, just fought someone from Vandelay's fight team out of Vegas. People like Jacob Johnson, who's a Sig Muay Thai fighter. The Hewlin brothers. I mean, the list goes on and on. I can keep naming them.
And you mentioned some of the great fighters coming out of there. If I'm in Wilmington, if I'm in Raleigh or something like that, and I want some of these fighters to be on my card, who's going to excite me and say these guys can maybe bring some of the fans?
Who's going to, I mean, like, fighter-wise, who's going to bring in some big-time fans?
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's going to give me an exciting fight.
Oh, exciting fight. Nick Blake right off the bat. The man will stand right in front of you and throw fists the whole fight. I don't think I've ever seen him try to take someone down. His fight with Jacob Johnson when he was an amateur was an amazing fight. They just stood there toe-to-toe. Even when he fought Jeremy Harris, same thing. Seal Bynum's going to bring it. He's going to bring some excitement. I mean, he's traveled down to Florida and fought already. Just fought Cameron Dollar just a couple weeks ago. I mean, I don't want to brag, but I would like to say myself. I like to bring a little bit of thunder and lightning, a little bit of excitement. I'm ready to get back on my winning ways as well. It's been, I think, almost a year since I've had a victory, so whoever's my next opponent, I'm ready to run through them.
I hear you. Now, of course, everybody gets lost, and there's promotions out in Wilmington, promotions out in Charlotte. People got to know, or have to know, that the Triad has two promotions going on right now with Scrap Live and the Rings of Dreams up there. Tell me a little about these promotions, if you can.
Yeah, definitely. Ring of Dreams, I think, is a co-promotion with Kerry. I don't know his last name. I think it might be Smith, but and Ryan Hayes. They put on about 8 MMA fights and then 4 boxing fights usually when they have those. They've done up at the Benton. They sell a lot of tickets and they're pretty excited. It's a lot of local talent, a lot of new local talent that goes on those cards. And then the Scrap Live event is put on by Jeff Frankston as the promoter, sponsored mainly by Scrap Fightwear, and it's a high quality show. They just had their 7th show, and from the first show they've already stepped it up. They had 3 former UFC fighters on this last card, had fights on TV and tape it. They're going to, I believe, air it in about a month or so. They rented out the LJM VM Annex. So, I mean, we've got big promotions trying to make it big and do big things here in the Triad.
Let's talk about what's happening for you coming up in the next few months and weeks.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't been on the winning ways in a while. Like I said, I believe my last win was almost a year ago. I'm going on back-to-back losses, and actually June 17th, Scrap Live's coming back to Winston-Salem at the Annex, and it's going to be on a Saturday, so you aren't going to see my face on that card. The rainbow's going to be back in full effect, bringing all the colors, and I'm bringing it. Actually, exciting news, I'm going to have a remix made of a song that I think everybody's going to enjoy. I can't say it right now, but you just got to come up on 17th to find out what it is. I'm excited, and I'm looking to fight someone tough. I'm trying to see if I can get a hold of the promoter for this card and get a hold of John Morales. We've put the Scrap a few times, and I'd like for that to be my next fight, because after that fight I plan to be turning pro, so it would be an honor to have John Morales get my last amateur fight.
All right. The last amateur fight, is that the big breaking news I have right now?
That is pretty much the big breaking news. I mean, I enjoy fighting, but it's time for me to start getting paid. This whole getting punched in the face just for people to scream and some chicks to see me. I mean, it ain't adding up. You know what I'm saying? I need some zeros behind those punches.
I hear you, buddy. All right, Bradley, the Rainbow Essex, thank you for joining us here. All right, folks, that'll do it for this episode of Carolina Warrior TV. We really hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to visit us on our YouTube page and Facebook page for extended interviews and extended highlights. Till next time, I'm Chaz Bryant. Thanks for watching.